Nuland at the State Department, the number 2 at the State Department, and Joe Biden threatened to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. Watch.
I want to be clear with you today. If Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
So then the pipelines actually blew up. These are the pipelines that bring natural gas from Eastern Europe to Western Europe to keep the European economy going. And they exploded, causing the single largest human-caused environmental disaster in all of history. And again, setting Europe on the road to actual poverty. So it was an unpopular event, and Joe Biden denied any responsibility. In fact, he blamed Russia. Joe Biden and his whole administration told us that somehow Russia, for reasons they never made clear, just because they're evil, had sabotaged their own energy pipeline. Watch this.
It was a deliberate act of sabotage, and now the Russians are pumping out disinformation and lies.
So that was in September, and it was obvious from the very first day, well, that's not true. It's not that Vladimir Putin is too good a person to blow up Nord Stream, but, like, why would he? It only hurts him. And by the way, it really hurts Western Europe. But a lot of media outlets repeated that lie dutifully. That's what they do, and attacked us as Putin stooges for having questions about it. Well, we know a lot more now. There have been a number of official investigations of what happened, and not one has found any evidence of Russian involvement. And now we have the actual answer to what happened. Oh, the Biden administration did it. For real. Investigative reporter Seymour Hersh, who's been around for more than 50 years, just wrote a piece on Substack that includes this, quote, last June, the Navy divers, U.S. Navy divers, operating under the cover of a widely publicized midsummer NATO exercise known as Baltops 22, planted remotely triggered explosives that 3 months later destroyed 3 of the 4 Nord Stream pipelines, according to a source with direct knowledge of the operational planning. Now, this piece continues. It's probably the most comprehensive news story you will read this year. Seymour Hersh on Substack, you should read it. And it recounts in detail meetings with the National Security Advisor at the White House, where this was planned, exactly what explosives were used, how they were triggered, by what aircraft, on what day. So many details in here that it is not possible that it's not true. It is true. And in fact, no one at a high level in the U.S. government is denying it with any specificity, and said the White House is just dismissing it as utterly false, and no reporters are following up on this. It's amazing. Aaron Mate is following up on it. He's with the Gray Zone. He joins us tonight. Aaron, I don't remember the last time I saw a story this well reported. It wasn't in the New York Times, Hersh's former employer. They wouldn't have run it. But the fact that nobody at the White House briefing today even asked about this story makes me think we are becoming North Korea.
Tucker, this is a case where you have the motive. The U.S. has long been trying to stop the Nord Stream 2 because, as Sy Hersh's story points out, the U.S. has recognized that if Nord Stream 2 goes online, that would make it a lot more difficult for the U.S. to wage a proxy war against Russia, because Germany will not want to be on board with cutting off its source of cheap energy. So the U.S. found an answer to that problem. They blew it up. And it's interesting. Hersh reports that the planning for this operation began in late 2021. And that's when Russian forces were massing on the border of Ukraine, and there was a threat of the invasion. But something else happened. Russia, in that same month of December 2021, when planning was underway at the White House to blow up Nord Stream 2, Russia also submitted draft treaties to the U.S. and NATO, laying out detailed proposals for the U.S. and NATO to resolve their issues, to roll back NATO military infrastructure in states surrounding Russia. Now, we know what happened to that because the U.S. rejected it, wouldn't even discuss the core issue of Ukraine not joining NATO. Instead, the U.S. chose to basically let the Russian invasion happen, and then when that happened, proceeded to engage in this operation to blow up Nord Stream 2. And they've made no secret about their embrace of this. The day after the Nord Stream 2 was sabotaged, Antony Blinken declared that this was a tremendous strategic opportunity. and most recently, you've covered this, Victoria Nuland testified in Congress that she is grateful, along with the White House, that the Nord Stream 2 is now a hulk of metal at the bottom of the sea.
I mean, NATO is a coalition of European powers led by the United States. The United States just wrecked their economies. I don't see how NATO stays together after this. I don't, but I mean, what do I know?
北溪天然气管线是重大跨国基础设施，有关爆炸事件对全球能源市场和全球的生态环境产生重大负面影响。如果贺时的调查报告属实，这是不可接受，并且必须受到追责的行为。美方应当向世界做出负责任的交代。
얼마나 많은 역사의 도전들을 치르시며 힘과 혁명을 보이해온 붉은 정착입니까? 한중앙의 트리에 철력의 진을 치러 일어나 제국주의 검은 폭제를 자위 자력의 총대로 짓부셔버린 일당백 전투정신의 체연자들이 금결의 위훈 청청마다 가슴마다 빛내이며 파도쳐 흘러갑니다.